Yes, sir.
Good. We all think.
You're welcome.
I hope not. I hope not. More, just tell us to get along. More, just tell us to get along.
It is 6 o'clock. We do have a quorum. I'm calling this EDC meeting to order. First order of business, we usually do our invocation. I'm going to ask people with the card to do that. And after that, we'll do our invocations, pledge to the flag.
Gracious Father, once again, we come to say thank you for your many blessings. Thank you, dear God, for allowing opportunity to come before our throne. Well, Heavenly Father, we just ask that you come and abide with us for a little while as we try to do things for the betterment of this community and for the betterment of mankind. We pray this evening, oh God, for those that are sick, for Heavenly Father, for the bereaved families. We ask, oh Heavenly Father, that you would just come and touch us this evening as we try to do things for this community. We pray, dear God, that you will give us the love that runs from heart to heart and from breast to breast. And dear God, if there's anything this evening that's among us that's not like you, we pray, oh Heavenly Father, that you remove it right now in the mighty name of Jesus. And all this back in Jesus' name. We all say.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, our next order of business, item number 2 is presentation of checks and tough kits from the Cleveland Economic Development Corporation. I'd like to ask Mr. Tuffy and Ms. Jones, if you can come forward, please.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Well, I guess everybody at EDC, we want to take a picture with this presentation of the check.
So do you want us to come back there to eat it?
Actually, the check might show up better if everybody comes up front.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Frank, promise me tear it up if you didn't show up.
Tuffy, you got a wallet big enough to put this in?
I can find one.
Which way you gonna take a picture? I guess along the.
Probably go over here.
Well, they might want the logo.
Come on, bro.
I just don't know.
Yeah, that's yeah, we're gonna have to really like each other a lot more.
We're gonna like each other.
We're gonna so girls.
We got it.
Sorry, if you can probably move over here, because otherwise I'm gonna get the desk in the picture, unfortunately. I'm sorry, guys.
All right, I'm home with
Wait, you and Robert got to inhale. Yeah, that's the best picture.
You see me? You see me?
Get to the outside. That's Tyson bread. Inhale, Robert.
Yeah, I think it'd work better, two guys, let's shut the door. Okay.
Oh,
You know what? Yeah.
yeah, we're not done yet.
That is much better.
So,
Thank you, Chief. That wasn't no good, young quickly.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like 20 pictures.
You come up with ideas, you get locked up.
If you would like to sign like a contract, as well as
Do you want to sign, or you can sign the back of it too? Endorse the back.
You catch that?
I'll catch that check.
That is your number on there.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, that's right, but it always, I don't know why. Yeah, you all right there, Saturday. Yeah.
Since you out on the door, look good, do good, bring work. Good to see you.
No, not this time.
Everybody have a
Can we
chance
get a
to say-
picture of Ms. Williams? She's also a vital part of this organization as well.
Well, y'all want to hold up the check on the other, if you want to stand behind it and hold it up?
Already did. So you want to sign? I can sign at the top.
Believe me, I'm proud of that. Just thinking about it, I've been proud, so thank you all so much. You don't know what it is actually.
Let's
Start construction.
Well, we're setting up an escrow account, with this second Austin Bank, because I want to make sure that we're keeping the funds separate from camp and all those things. And so I'm still working on getting different contractors to come and tell us what they need, so I'm finding out people don't want to come give us bids and estimates, and I'm like, how are we going to know, you know? And so I had the foundation guys come out, I had an electrician come out, but it's been a really difficult time getting like carpenters and all those people to come out. So that's still a work in process. So I don't have to actually have a date to answer that.
Maybe they'll wanna donate it, that's why they're not getting it. That'd be a good question to ask. Yeah, well,
So we don't know, so we trying to come up with some clever ideas, one of the things that
Do you think it would work better if you set a date? I mean, contact people and tell them on this date, did you, and have some idea of what you're what their job would be to do. I think a lot of people afraid to give bids, afraid to get shopped, you know what I mean?
Okay,
The
okay.
banking part of it.
I didn't know that, okay.
If you set a date, then they all know they're gonna turn their bids in at that time.
You want that?
I thought it was already on.
So, yeah, so I
You
mean,
gonna take
literally,
that to Austin Bank?
yes, sir.
Well, Mike Henry's in Austin, tell him to match it.
Okay, I
Oh,
will.
there you go.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next item, the business is item number 3, public comments. Did anybody sign up to speak? Okay, if everybody signed up, we'll again, item number 3, public comment. Public comment. Now's the time that you will be given 3 minutes. I think we had someone join us, but I guess they don't want to public comment. Okay. There are no public comments. We're going to move our meeting down to item number 4. Reports and comments from directors and staff. Colonel, being director, you want to lead us off?
Yes, I really don't have any comments. I'd like to, congratulate the kids for their endeavors. Thank them, Lisa Jones and Duffy for coming this afternoon. Look forward to exciting things.
Okay, we'll start with the well. Ms. Kelly, do you have anything?
I really don't, I'm blessed to be here tonight. Congratulations to the kids that we were doing. Good luck to you. I'm excited for what's happening in our community.
Can't hear
Be
you.
a part of it.
Is your green button on?
So, I'm ready to know what you want. I just said I'm thankful to be here, and I really don't have to say.
Okay. Ms. Clay?
I just want to, just add on that under, what Tough Kids is doing in our community, and we appreciate it, thank you. And as an EDC, board member, we are so glad that we were able to help. Anytime there's anything that we can do, if we can, we'd be more than welcome to support you and help you. Thank you. And, on another note, I'm too excited about all the growth that we have. A lot of people don't see the growth, but there is growth. So no matter what you hear on social media as far as negative comments, just know and do your part and continue to, just do the best you can. That's it.
I want to thank y'all too. It's really a blessing to have y'all do all the things that you do in our community. And hopefully you can get that building the way you want it pretty soon and really get going very well with that. But I piggyback on Marilyn, will help you any way we can. And I'm happy to be here tonight. Thank you.
Patrick? Any comments?
Yes, and congratulations to the folks there that received the money from, I know it's gonna go to good use, and appreciate y'all being here and all the fine work that y'all are doing. Secondly, I have a comment that I'd like to make, and that is, I'm sure y'all have seen it, there was in the Bluebonnet News, if y'all seen the, I don't know what you call it, article, yeah, that, excuse me, that Robert Reynolds gave, and how positive it was. And then afterwards, it had 46 negative comments. I thought that was very negative. I read some of them to where I just didn't want to look at them anymore. My comment is I don't know what it is. We have this stigma, I guess, about Cleveland, how negative everything is. And I know as a board and the city council and the mayor and all are moving in the right direction to get that behind us. I've been here all my life, and a lot of other people have been here all my life. I travel a lot, and I go to different places, Texas and the United States, for board meetings. And at one point, some years ago, I was really hesitant to tell people where I come from, because we had several black eyes in the city of Cleveland. They didn't know where it was at, and I would say I'm 50 miles north of Houston, and they'll say, oh yes, that's where such and such happens or whatever. Every time you look at the news and something's going on, it's always on Channel 13 or so forth, always negative. I don't know what to do, you know, as a board, as a whole, as a city. I don't know what we could do to change that. I know we're in the right direction. I'm just venting right now, I guess you could say. I don't know what we need to do, but whatever we do as a board, we need to try to press on with the negative, the positiveness as much as we can, and don't listen to the negativeness. And let's see what we can do to change that. A lot of comments are made that we don't have restaurants. Well, we have restaurants. They're not visiting them. People made comments that they go out of Cleveland to shop, to do things elsewhere. Why do they do that? Because they're hiding, you know. Or maybe the restaurants are better, but I don't know what it is. But I don't know the answer. I don't know the solution to do all this. But we just, as a board, we need to work hard to get that to where we can turn that negativeness into positiveness. So that was just a comment I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle?
I just want to say to the Tech kids, I'm glad that we were able to do that and participate, because I love what y'all do, and there's a lot of good kids here that need that. And that's just, I'm glad to be able to be here to help them and that.
All in a positive direction.
Kids that need it.
Bobby, do you have any comments you'd like to make at this time?
I just want to say congratulations to Tough Kids as well. There's nothing more important than supporting our local organization. Sometimes economic development looks to the outside when really the resources are on the inside. So congratulations. I know that you will take that resource and build your organization and build the youth to serve the community later on. So congrats. And Mr. President, Board, the staff will continue to work together and move us forward. We're going to move the needle, and we're going to continue to move. We have a lot of projects that are coming down the pipe, and we will continue to move Cleveland forward.
Thank you. Again, I'd like to congratulate Tough Kids on what you're doing, and I'd like to ask to take lots of pictures as your progress starts, lots of pictures. On the article that we mentioned, I want the public to know, I can see 50 empty chairs out in front of me. When council has their meeting and EDC has their meeting, there's always empty chairs. You're welcome to come up and express your opinion that way, and I welcome you to do that. The other thing I wanted to bring up real quick, many times we talk about things that we need to do. One of those things is signage. We've already in our budget got money approved for a sign at the airport. I would like suggestions. What's the best way to go about it? I don't think we need to go out to sign companies. I'd like to have somebody with ideals that says, well, this is what I think it should look like. Do a sketch. You don't have to be an artist, just do a sketch, and we'll take it from there. And that's all I have at this time. Next item on our agenda is item number 5, summary monthly business prospect reports and EDC prospect report for ADC Director Robert Reynolds.
Mr. President and Board, I welcome y'all this afternoon. I do welcome all our guests and Mr. Mr. Carter, and James Franklin, and Mr. Bruce Hard. Welcome all y'all. Hey, I want to comment a little bit about that. You know, one thing I try to do each and every day, I try to show positivity, even though negativity gets thrown out there. If you want to be negative, grab a hold and be a part of negativity, you'll be negative. But if you'll always feed and grow on positivity, you'll be a positive person. I mean, get up every day, your feet hit the floor, be thankful for your day. As you get to these bridges, I mean, we all deal with the same things in life. You know, maybe finance, maybe health, whatever it may be, family issue. But be positive and everything will be okay. But, you know, I meet with a lot of people, just like these reports I give every month, and I give weekly reports. I have people coming in here from Houston area, from out of state, and I introduce them to everybody I can that is a part of our city, that being our boards, our council, our mayor, our city manager. And they all tell me that we make them feel welcome. They like being here, we make them feel comfortable, and they want to be a part of it. So it's just a matter of time. I mean, it's happening. And it, you know, growth doesn't happen just overnight. It's like BNSF, it took time, and we're into it about 3.5 years now. I believe Miss Clay and Miss McWaters, I mean, we three were in San Antonio, and it's kind of really got rolling good. We're on phone conversations with BNSF. I mean, but it takes time. I mean, this happened. So let's just keep on being positive about what we do. I mean, in our lives, you know, there's sometimes things that I don't like, but I don't let it get me down. I mean, I just have to, it's part of life. So be positive. On business prospects, you know, we still have Crisscross that is still out there. This is another one that wants to build commercial strip centers. He's still looking, and people are looking for the right site. I mean, it's hard to find locations around Walmart and on 59. That's where everybody wants to be. I want to carry them out to Grand Oaks, you know, because we're going to start growing some direction beside around Walmart. I mean, as far as room. So, but they keep looking. They hadn't gave up. The same way with Titus Investments, commercial car wash. He just had his grand opening there in New Caney behind that strip center. He follows Crisscross, Brian Denard. Where he builds, they follow each other. In McKinley Group, we know what's going on there. That's going to be something positive. They're, you know, going to be David from Oakhurst. That's going to be a good thing for our golf course. The country club, they're going to they're doing their plans now, but they're going to be open around the first of the year. Hamilton Realty, Larry is still trying to look for 300 to 1,000 acres with rail. I have visited a couple of times with UP. BNSF, I've sent them out there with that, but they want to buy. And so I have had conversations with UP, and they're going to be coming to town shortly and visit me on what we might can do. But one thing about the UP rail, that is a mainline hot rail, and it's hard to get a spur off that line. And they're not certain we're going to be able to get a spur off there, so they want to look at other avenues. Last week, we met with a company that does waste recycling, B plastics. The mayor, the county judge, Mr. Pennington, and myself met with them, and they're buying 20 acres on County Road 388. They're going to start off with like 5, once they get going, 5 employees, and move to 20. And they're eventually, within 5 years, hope they'll have 100 employees on that site. But anyway, they're going to take waste and turn it into plastic pellets. How they do that, that's something, but they got a machine that's boxed in Germany. It's going to be shipped over, so that's another good thing for it. Mobile Oil Credit, I spoke with them last week. They've been looking around for a while. They're looking for a good site. They need a location that's a drive-through. We don't have an existing building that has a drive-through, and they've looked at a couple other sites in town, but they hadn't made a decision on what they wanted to do. The Manning Holdings, Nancy Manning from Tacoma, Washington. She was in town on the 14th through 17th. Spent a couple of days with her. Had had lunch with them a couple of days, and they're still looking at properties in town that she wants to invest. So, I mean, go back to that, these people coming from everywhere. Clay Torzo, he's also a commercial strip center builder. He'd like to have 20 acres, but he wants 20 acres around Walmart. He's looking, and I showed him out 59 North, but everybody wants to be around Walmart. You gotta make your new growth, because we don't have now. There are a few sites around Walmart. Now, we got people though that's looking, they want to buy some of the existing buildings around Walmart. And a lot of that's going on, a lot of offers right now. The motels, some of the restaurants in those areas, there's offers out there. So eventually something happened there. Any questions about these?
I just have a comment. I noticed on Facebook that Mobile Oil Credit has a site on Facebook. I think it's right under where Goodline News was.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, not only you met with them, we've talked with them, they're actually advertising in our area. And I think the way they work is, there was a time when a credit union had been employee credit union, the laws have changed. They now operate under, you have to be an adjoining county. In other words, if you live in that county, you qualify that as you could be a member of their credit union. And I think a lot of people wouldn't know that, but anyway, I just noticed that they did have an advertisement on Facebook.
Yeah. Any other comments?
Mr. I just want to comment on the mobile oil credit. And they're really excited about coming to Cleveland. They really, really want to be here. And also, they also want to even come in, even if they're not here at this time, to do a workshop. So I thought that was something that was really good. So I told her that we would get back with them once we get our facility in order, because that would probably be the best place to have this this workshop. But they really want to do a workshop.
Yeah, when we met with them, there were like 7 of them came to town, 7 of the corporate people. So they were really looking hard. So. Business status, we still have the BNSF. It's where it is, and it's still moving along. Quick Trip, same. January might change on Quick Trip a little bit. I mean, but it's not going to go away. I mean, they've done so much, it's not going to say that's not going to happen. BNSF, they're still, working on their land clearing bids. And Burger Works, keep staying in touch with Mr. William Teminga. He has not gave me a commitment or a date on when he wants to start doing his other. And I keep emphasizing the point how much we need that little strip he's wanting to build.
Director, I would like you to get a date out of it.
I keep pushing.
Good salesman, get a date out of it.
Yes.
They keep talking about, we're gonna do this, but
Right.
we need to open that up.
Yes, sir.
The comment was made through Facebook that Quick Trip is just another gas station. Explain what Quick Trip really does, other than selling gas.
It is, it's a travel center. It's not a truck stop. I mean, they're gonna allow about 6 trucks to come in to get fuel, but it's no overnight parking for trucks, so it won't be a truck stop. In the Dallas, Austin, all that area, they are known for travel centers. They have, now there's something else, they have the supersized centers, and then they got the smaller little convenience store size. We're getting the larger size here. So that's gonna be really an upscale travel center store, convenience store. That company is also a well-organized company. I'm excited about them because they're gonna employ, starting out with 30 people. They invest in the community. They invest in the kids. They invest in the ones that work for them. If they want to go to college, they'll pay the tuition for them. If they want to advance in their company, they'll pay all their college. And they'll also put in where if you don't want to contribute to their profit share, they put in for you. So, and they pay really well. So it's gonna be really a good deal for us and the community and help employ a lot of our kids. And I mean, they would probably want to, I mean, it's a good place to work. The two guys that we had met with, they came up through the stores. And those guys are really sharp and, exciting guys, and they're young. So,
Quick Trip, his home office is based out of, I believe, Tulsa,
Oklahoma.
And that's where William came from. He worked there, and when he got through college, he was on his way, I believe, up north somewhere for a job application. And he was called by his boss at Quick Trip and asked if he would consider it. So they made him such a good deal. He turned the other job down and came back and worked for Quick Trip, which he worked for during his college years. So there's another incident where they do promote with them.
Yeah,
And I think that locally here would help our community very much.
and you go online and look up, I mean, it tells a lot about them online. So look them up online and read all about them. They have also enjoyed working with Cleveland. They said everywhere they've built and worked with the communities and cities, this has been the most uncomfortable for them, and they like to do a second location. They like to do a smaller version here. Get this one up going, and then they want to start looking at a smaller one somewhere in town. So.
Mr. President, also would like to mention another item that was posted, and that was in reference to the grocery change, which was HEB. And we try to give out as much information as possible for what our director is doing and what the board is doing. But we have been in contact with HEB many times on numerous occasions, had numerous meetings, and I think Mr. Reynolds is working on another meeting. At the time, we just don't have what they're looking for. That's what they tell us, but we haven't given up. We keep working on trying to get a grocery store in here, and we won't stop. We're just going to continue to work on it and meet as often as we can to let them know what we have here in our city and what we have to offer. And I just wanted to bring that point out as well.
Many times, people are looking at Cleveland, they're looking for household income, medium income, and population, traffic count. All these things is what to look for. And if we don't have the population yet, we just have to wait until we get there and then come. But it's not because of lack of effort trying to get them here.
About meeting with HEB. We have been working on HEB for about 10 years, and this has been an ongoing basis. Ms. Clay, again, and Ms. McWaters and I have sat down and meeting with them, and I'm gonna go even way back. Mr. Carter and I even had a meeting with Scott McClellan in the back warehouse, and we sat on boxes back there. So they're well aware how we want a new location here for them and how important it is. So.
Any other questions for Mr. Rollins?
I do. After looking at these reports here, forgive me for lack of proper wording, but it's so repetitious. That's a bad word to use.
Your words are.
Every week we get your progress
your
reports, you know, and is it really necessary that we need a progress report or weekly report? I'm just asking, I don't know. I mean, somebody clarify why we need a weekly report from you. I know you're doing your job. You're out there meeting with customers. I don't need to use that as a GPS tracking report. I think it's a lame idea, to be honest with you. But can we do every 2 weeks, or if we need to do it, or I don't know if it's taken from your time away of sitting and typing this up. Some days you got 6 items, some days you got 9 or 10, and frankly, I know what you're doing because you give us a progress report every month. You know, and it's the same thing pretty much. And I'm not making fun of it or anything. I'm just lack of knowledge, I guess, on my part. I don't know. Can somebody answer that for me?
Any other board members have a question?
I would just like to say that I find it unnecessary. I agree as well. We meet once a month, and I think that once a month report is sufficient enough. Right here where we are, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. I think this is the right place. To me, and maybe I feel insulted, but it's like a GPS record keeping, you know? Trying to track, make sure to know what you're doing and all that, and I know you're out there. I don't know of anybody else, and I'll tell everybody, that works as hard as this man does, because I'll see him working with people, and he's out there. I don't know what else to tell you on that, because I know he's doing his job. We're paying him to do his job, and this man here, before he even took this job on, was going around talking to people and doing stuff for free, you know, for the city of Cleveland, and doing these things before he started getting a paid position. That's all I can say.
I mentioned this a while back, and I'm glad you brought it back up. Thank you.
Thank you.
My only comment is, I'm retired, it bothers me all the time.
What do we do? If we don't feel that's necessary, is it need to be made into a motion to have that removed? We have to put it on the agenda.
Well, it is open for discussion and comments, and that's where we are.
Yeah.
And so, not that we can act on it, but we can express our opinion.
I think the only reason why we need a report is if y'all were progressing with something that you wanted us to make a decision about at a meeting
Right.
like this. Sometimes it's good to have a little heads up, maybe not every week, but if there is something that's getting a little further along, the rest of us aren't, you know, I'm at my job, I don't get to go to the meetings and meet with the people that, like mobile oil and all that. So when things start progressing, I can see where.
I think this started back couple of years ago that we had EDC members come to a meeting and say, well, I met with somebody this week and they're good, and we'd be glad to have them, but I can't tell you who it is. Or I met with somebody, but I can't tell you who it is. And so that, I think EDC at that time was saying, well, why do you keep it to yourself? Now, of course, we've got the situation of help me out, Robert, a non-disclosure statement. Many times companies will ask for that. And that's kind of why this started. Not just the non-disclosure statement, but the fact of reporting to EDC what's going on and not keeping it as a secret.
And
That's where this originated.
Mr. Terrell, and some of that you have to keep, you know, not under disclosure, because you're talking about properties and things that they don't want out there because they're looking at that time, trying to find very decent property. It may be in the negotiation. So you gotta kind of keep it under wraps for them until that time, but, so, and I want to comment, go back to this, B Plastics, they're gonna come talk to see us next month. They wasn't ready to come this month, but they're gonna come see us next month.
Well, see, that's one thing that I want to get at. We talked to a lot of these individuals, and you're having meetings with them time and time again. I don't need to know that you're meeting with them, having lunch and so forth. I want to hear, like, HEB, you've been working on for 10 years. I want you to say, hey, group, fantastic news. HEB decided to buy some property over here. We're moving on. That's where I want to hear the news from. That's what I want to hear.
That we all want to hear.
I mean, I know you're out meeting with people and you're doing the best you can for the city, and we appreciate you for all your efforts and all that you do. Thank you, Robert Reynolds.
Thank y'all.
Any other comment? One of the things, I'm going to back up to item 4. We discussed last month, and we got a vote of approval for the EDC to attend the new TEDC convention that's happening this November in Houston. And Angela, I know, sent out an email, and I'm going to ask her at this time. Have you got a response from all EDC members?
No, sir, I've not gotten a response from all EDC members at this time.
I'd like at this time, everybody, if you're gonna go, commit to going, so she can go ahead and start. Well, we don't have to do any hotel reservations, but at least the tickets.
What was the date?
Friday,
It was the 4th or 5th? No, but it'll be, okay. No. I know we can get plenty of time, but it's better if we can get in early. A lot of times you get some discounts if we sign up earlier. So if you could just, let Angela know. Can you help me out?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Could you, in the last meeting, I thought we made the motion agreeing that all the members were planning to go, but if they could not go, she wanted a response. Was that correct?
Well, I thought the last meeting was simply approving EDCs to go to the meeting. I didn't count, but it was just a conversation, and then we actually voted and agreed that we had money in our budget for this, and we agreed to do it. But as, again, I'll say Ms. Smith doesn't need to count. Next item of business is consent agenda. As usual, consent agenda contains items 6, 7, and 8. As a general rule, consent agenda, if there's an item that you would like to ask questions or have discussions, just request that be pulled from it. And then we'll vote on the remaining items as a consent item. So at this time, I'm asking motions for the, to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I second
We have a motion, we have a second. Are there any discussions? I'm gonna ask that item 6 for the minutes be pulled for discussion, leaving 7 and 8, which 7 is approval of monthly bill payments, and the number 8 is approval of monthly financial statements. And you noticed in your packet you had a monthly financial bill paying, but a new one has been put in front of you, so everybody has the new. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, by raising your right hand. Unanimous. Okay. Item number 6, approve minutes from May the 24th, 2021 business meetings. The reason I pulled that out, if we go to the minutes, I've got it marked as sheet page 3 of 5, item number 12. It reads presentation with discussion and possible action on the request for support for Cleveland Chamber of Commerce for the Leadership East Texas program. It's come to my attention that the Cleveland Chamber of Commerce is not representing this. It's simply Mr. Carter was the one who brought it to us. And the second item I want to discuss is down further in the paragraph about line number 7. You see there says the cost is $600 per student. The next sentence is the one I want to address. They are asking for a membership of $1,500 each year from EDC. And I want to make sure that that was for 1 year only. And next year they would have to come back for this if they requested it again the second time. Do members agree with that? That's why I brought it up for discussion.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that.
So for correction of minutes, it should be, that each year should be taken down. How do we correct that? Do we need a motion for action on that? Okay. I need a motion to correct the minutes.
Mr. President, I need a motion that we correct the wordage of the 1,500 each year to change that, language. I'll second that.
Got a motion, I got a second. Any other further discussion? All of those in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you.
Excuse me, did you say that the chamber was not behind, what did you say, they're not behind this?
I've been told that chamber is not the representation of the chamber. Mr. Carson brought it to our attention, not as a representative of the chamber.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Thanks.
Moving right along, going down to discussion and action, item number 9. Discussion and possible action on EDC website. EDC website is out of my wheelhouse, so I'm gonna pass this to, Ms. Marilyn Clay and Ms. Jennifer Jude, and they will do a presentation on possible EDC website. Who wants to go first? Marilyn?
Mr. President, I just sort of, have been talking to, some of the city staff and some of the members, that we need to sort of update or improve our website or even possibly build a new website. And the reason for that is because, you want to promote your city, your community. You want, when people come, or even people that are relocating here, to be able to click on your website and find all the information they need. If someone is relocating, they want to know what type of city Cleveland is or what they have to offer. And one thing that I think would be a great thing to do is indicate the industries that we do have. We realize that we are a small town, but indicate those industries that we do have. Put the information there to see, to let people know how many employees they have, what they have to offer, what type of business or company it is. We just need to be able to promote and just showcase our city. There's two things that you want to make sure that you have: availability and accessibility. You can have things available, but may not be accessible. We have a lot of technology, a lot of different cell phones and things, but you want people to be able to go on, if they want to go and pay a bill, to be able to pay that bill, not to be charged for it, but, but be able to go on and make those payments. It would sort of let upon some of the city staff. Also, if they have a complaint, not necessarily a complaint, but they want to report a tree down or wire down, they should be able to go to your website and click on to something in that website to say, on Western Street, there's a limb down or a tree down. So, and he responded back to it in a timely manner. That's what I have. I know I brought this to Jennifer and to our city manager, and I think she's been assigned to sort of do some research, and she did some research and has some websites that she wanted to share with us. So that's where we are.
Good evening, EDC. If you didn't catch the, of course, sorry about that. But as Miss Marilyn Clay was saying, I did do some research on some websites. Currently, we are using Civic Plus. Oh, our current website that we are using is going to be Civic Plus. We are eligible for a free redesign, which goes across the entire website. The two options that that are indicated for EDC, there is a department header option for EDC, which is essentially a sub-site that would be under, it would still be under the umbrella of the clevelandtexas.com website. It would just be a unique designed web page for EDC. The second option is a separate sub-site just for EDC. It's a from scratch website that would be dedicated to EDC, so it has its own web domain and everything separate from the Cleveland, Texas website. Unfortunately, due to COVID, a lot of companies are behind schedule. And Civic Plus would not be able, to start the creation and redesign process until September of 2021. Typically, most companies, it takes about 3 to 6 months to go through the designing and implementation page and creating everything on the back end before it goes live. So for the department header option, the design cost is a one-time for design and development, and it's $4,515. And the annual cost would be $788. So basically, it would attach into what we already pay yearly for Civic Plus for the annual cost, and it would be eligible for redesign every 4 to 5 years, I believe. And then the sub-site design cost, the one-time design cost comes out to $7,220. And the annual reoccurring cost would be $1,418, and that will also just go on top of the what we currently pay for Civic Plus, which is around $5,000. The next website I have researched is Golden Shovel. They are geared towards economic development corporations. Some of you might have seen Conroe EDC's website or Palestine, Texas EDC website. They do have a 3-month design process. They are currently not, Golden Shovel is currently not backlogged or anything, but their design process runs about 3 months. For the customized website development and launch, there's a one-time fee of $17,500. And then also there's the website hosting, maintenance, and technical support. So your total 1-year investment is going to be $21,650. And the annual yearly cost after that initial year is $4,150 to keep that going. The next website I researched was Municode. They're also similar to Civic Plus. They do full website redesigns, and they also do the similar sub-sites like Civic Plus. Some examples are Corvallis, Oregon. Let me see if I can pull that up. So this is Corvallis, Oregon's main website. And what I mean by sub-site is you'll see, so their library has a different sub-site that's like directly off of their page. Of course, if I can maybe get this. So even though it's all under their same site, so this is similar to how it would be also with Civic Plus, is you'd have that one main site for your city, and then you could have a sub-site just for EDC that doesn't like flow the same as Civic Plus or as your main website. The cost breakdown for Municode for design development and the implementation phase is $7,200. Annual hosting, maintenance, and customer support is $2,600 a year, which gives you a total year one cost of $9,800. Town Web is also going to be really similar to Municode and Civic Plus, as they're familiar with municipal and government agency websites. They have a no-cost web design every 3 years, and they specialize in municipal website design. They take the least amount of time to get the website established and launched, with around 2 weeks, depending on how much design implementation needs to be done. The web sign and setup fee is $5,499, which is one-time fee. And this is the price until the end of August, and then it goes up to $5,999. The hosting, maintenance, and support package comes out to $3,228 a year. The domain name is $15 a year, making the total year one cost $8,742. So for your cost comparison between Civic Plus, Golden Shovel, Municode, and TownWeb, this just kind of breaks down the pricing. Of course, the staff would recommend going with Civic Plus since we've already been established with them since I believe 2013. And since I did say that we are eligible for a no cost redesign, and we can easily add that easy EDC sub-site that comes around $4,000 or a little over $4,000 a year. Of course, that is the board's pleasure. So some ideas I would like to get from the board is, I know that we talked about, showcasing the biggest employers within the city, local job opportunities outside of just what the city of Cleveland offers. We want to showcase the municipal airport, Chakra International, our upcoming projects such as BNSF, Quick Trip, and I believe Miss Marilyn Clay had also mentioned the Oliver J. Bell unit is looking at hiring as well. And then a better showcasing of our board members instead of having the scrolling slide, just have it all in one static image for everyone so that you see all the board members as a whole versus, oh, who was that? So I'll open it up to the board for any questions or anything that that you might like to have on the website to really showcase EDC as a whole.
Starting from the left, any questions?
I was just gonna say that my main thing about our website is easy navigation. That's the main thing. I said my main objective is fairly easy navigation at the website. That's
Yes.
all.
And I totally agree. Once the website is open, I mean, it should just pop right at you, that button to click on to what it is that they're looking for. And to add to that, the hospitals, so that the community or citizen would know, or anyone that's relocating here would know that we have 2 highly emergency or hospital facilities. Also, utilities, and this is my real estate thing here. When someone is moving or relocating, they want to know who handles the utilities, your lights, your water, your gas. That's important as well. Also, our airports. We have a local airport that's really growing and doing well in our city. So you want people to know that you have a local airport and also the information in reference to your international airport as well. So we just want to share, just want to promote our city all together. And I'm sorry, maybe a link to the school website. Yes.
I agree with you, Jennifer, that we should stay with Civic Plus and go from there, and everything that these ladies have said, I agree with that. Easy navigation is a must for me, of course, but for a lot of people. But just to make sure we have the pertinent information on it that people are looking for.
I have this question. Where are each one of these located? I understand Golden Glove is Minnesota. Are any of these Texas-based?
That I'm not 100% sure. I did receive a quote late Friday night that I did not include in the PowerPoint presentation, and that was from the Ryan's Group, which is out of Livingston, Texas, and I will pass out that email that she sent me.
One of them is out of Florida, Tallahassee, Florida.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
One of the companies is out of Florida, Tallahassee, Florida.
From what I understand, once you get set up the website, the really key keeping it updated is a local job. I mean, we have to let people know. They're not gonna, how's somebody from Minnesota gonna come here and know when we change something? And I'm thinking of like, park or a pool splash pad, now we have a splash pad, and if you have it a year ago, how do you let people know you got it now? Who keeps that updated?
So currently myself and Miss Angela Smith are the people who keep up with the updates on our website.
So a whole lot of website is only as good as the information fed into it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Reynolds, did you?
Yeah, Ms. Jennifer, I'd like to thank you for your hard work on this. I have one question, and I would like to ask it from the audience, I mean, our guests. Cause y'all are out there, y'all looking at the web, what do y'all see that y'all would like to see on our website?
Well, state, the school, coming in, this.
A couple of years ago, I was trying to find, our largest employers and how many, employees they hired and their average pay, and it took me forever to find that. So that would be, I was like a research paper, and so, but it took me a long time to find that information. Not saying that our people, but that information for our top employers, how many employees, average pay, those kinds of things,
I know right now we have a lot of people in our city. It's coming up there, a lot of people, there's a lot of people are doing involved, I mean, involved. That's all good.
I would say it might be helpful, I mean, I don't know what the chamber does in relation to, the membership who are hiring. So if they actually have that on their site, if you could kind of put a link there, say, hey, these employers are currently hiring. And, I mean, I don't want to, have it for all to see stuff, but I'm just saying that may be something that could be helpful.
And we did mention that because there are several companies that has been, sharing that information that they are hiring and they can't get anybody to work. And this is one of the reasons why we're really trying to push to get this information so we can get it out there.
I think that, also one of the things that they're finding out, I found out is they can't find employees. So that was been able to be linked from, and that was the community. And another thing that I've seen, when I was in the instruction, is that when you create the web page, if there's a nice bio of the individual as part of that development, people really look at that, they want to see what talent people that you have. It makes a difference when you put a bio about yourself, parents say, real estate, whatever. It draws an interest to people when they're looking at coming to our community.
And keep things current on the site, and also don't put your picture of Minnesota and say it's in Cleveland.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of that on websites where you'll see a picture of this and we don't even have that in our town, But just make sure the pictures and the information is correct and changed often.
Ms. Jennifer, I think currently we're on the City of Cleveland website, is that correct?
Yes. And
Is it, the reason being that we're on the City of Cleveland, we're inadequate to expand, or are we, can we still use it, or can we apply what we're discussing onto that site?
It's completely the board's pleasure on, which route you guys would like to take. We can definitely implement some of these changes to our website currently. Myself and Ms. Angela do have a meeting in the next coming weeks to talk to Civic Plus about the redesign project, just to get some more information on that. Did I kind of answer your question, or, okay. So, but yeah, we can definitely start implementing some of these changes to the EDC website. But if EDC would like their own separate website off of the city's page, we can definitely work with that as well.
Is that what you call a headline? They mentioned in here if you want to do a certain thing.
Yes, sir. So Civic Plus, the department header, it's similar to how I had pulled up the Corvallis Organs one. even though they have the city website, the EDC page could be, it wouldn't, so how you have the EDC page right now, if you were to go to the City of Cleveland homepage, you still kind of have that same color scheme, same theme and all that. Basically what the department header would do is, so when you go to the economic development page, it would have its own different appearance. But it would still just be under the City of Cleveland's page as a subpage, if that kind of makes sense, versus it being a completely separate site.
I was looking in the fact that, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're already piggybacking on the City of Cleveland, why could not we continue on and save this annual cost? Can we still piggyback on the City of Cleveland and just redevelop what we have already?
Absolutely. It's totally up to the board what, if they wanted just to
I
continue
understand
that.
being outside and on your own, but when you look up City of Cleveland booth, there it is right there.
Yeah.
Everybody's on there, including the EDC. I'm just trying to save some money.
Yeah, I understand that. Mr. President, I would recommend that we just further review and do our research and the ones that haven't gone on to really look at the website to see some of the additions they might want or want to delete or whatever, and bring this back in our next board meeting. And this way, if we do decide to separate, we can include this in our upcoming budget. But that is a great idea to continue to go, but I just would like for everybody to get the opportunity to review it and come back as a board.
Okay, we've gone from this hand, we're on the staff part comments, and when we finish that, I've asked for a motion on the discussion. Not necessarily action, but what we want to move forward with. Do you have any further questions, Patrick? And none from you, Michelle? Mr. Pinkman?
Yeah, I'd like to say that, you know, there's pros to having it all consolidated in one spot. And I've seen that other cities have it separate, the EDC, and kind of splitting it out, so it's a little more visible. Easy to see its own platform, and just kind of make it, we talked about making it very simple, and I just think it'd be, City of Pearland has a separate website, but it has a link between that and the city. Just a separate platform makes it a little cleaner, a little easier to read, because the city has a different objective than EDC. So I think that we need to look at the pros at being consolidated or a separate platform.
Well, I don't think in this particular situation, money should not be an option, as long as we're within reason.
If it's long, you know, it's about driving people to the right location or getting the right information.
I keep hearing a lot of things that are listed under the city, like population, employees, utilities, and things. Would be the same thing with the EDC. And that's why I agree with Ms. Clay. Let's think about it, research it further, and find out really what's best for Cleveland EDC. Again, this is on the agenda item as a discussion and action, and we've had the discussion. If there's no other comments, then I ask for a motion to, well, as Ms. Clay just said, I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Clay. Are you making that in the motion?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion that we bring this back to the board at our next meeting to further discuss or to go ahead and make a decision on what we want to do.
I've got a motion right here, second.
I'll second that.
Got a second. Any discussion? I'd like to make a comment that seriously, in the next 30 days, that we look and review these pages, and if you may come up with more if you do, can you send that out to us?
Absolutely.
And seriously, next month we'll come back ready to make a decision. Okay, and then a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Just notice that there's one comment that I like to make, and that's, it's kind of hard for us to compare to the big cities. We're a small city right now at this time. If we were comparable to Conroe or Pearland or other cities, well, they have an excess amount of people living there. I mean, I think if we were bigger or that size, we by all means need to be our separate entity. That's all I got.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, item number 10, discussion and possible action on community business support landscaping efforts. The gentleman has come forward to Mr. Reynolds and I, a local businessman, and Robert, I'm going to let you introduce the person that we talked with, and we'll have further discussion.
Well, Casino Landscaping, Mr. Tommy Johnson, he is, has the office, he was the, pit therapy, I believe it was. Anyway, he purchased that building in the Longdale Street, I believe that's Crockett, and across from the South Side Bank. Anyway, Tommy had called and wanted to know if he could do landscaping on his street. And so I called, I got back with Bobby. Bobby and I met with him. First when Bobby looked at it, he wants to take that block, go from his corner all the way down to, the sites, the demo. And along there you got, Ms. Toler has a couple buildings, Pendleton has a couple buildings, HR Block has a building. I believe all these. The Perry, yeah. All these people have agreed to pitch in, and so they're all gonna come together and do that. I think that what they are is in competition with the bank over there and what they're trying to do. So they're trying to unify their block and their corner over there. And then, so Mr. Taylor and I, we also went over there and we met with Mr. Tommy Johnson as well and talked to him. But anyway, that's what I thought this discussion was, because it's a good thing. I mean,
Let me describe it a little bit more. You got the street curb, and then you've got sidewalk that's 4 foot back. That 4 foot area is asphalt, it's owned by the city. And he wants to take the asphalt up and go in and put in a landscape. He mentions the name Xeriscape, there's another name for it. But basically, he described to me is that he would take the asphalt out, go in, put in a layer. But anyway, he would put in a drip system, that's a brown line, and that's what would feed the plants. He's talking about plants that's very low maintenance. That's part of the Zero Landscaping panel. There's another name for it, I can't pronounce it. And the city has agreed that they would put a water meter there, and the city would pay the water. And the beautiful thing about it is showing other businesses what can be done in the city of Cleveland. So by him willing to do that, buy the plants, and they're going to share the cost with his neighbors, is that it's a start. And I'm glad to see that someone has stepped up. Mr. Reynolds and I have talked about other entities in our city that, well, I know a gentleman who does the irrigation. So we're thinking if we get him to help and Mr. Johnson to help, maybe we can go somewhere else and do a landscaping area. That's just a thought. It's just something we're working on. But anyway, we wanted to bring that to you that we are working on some landscaping downtown. Hope that it works out, looks good, and it'll be a plus plus. Any other comments? Mr. Reynolds?
And he's wanting to start on his section. He's hoping to do it this week, so.
So we shouldn't be working going on that street this week. He went on vacation, but he left his crew here to get that started. I think Mr. Pennington agreed on putting the meter in there. Comment on that?
This would actually be city water. It's, we just want to put a meter on it to monitor it. It wouldn't be a charge necessarily. It would be the city's water. We just want to make sure that we can monitor that so that there's no fee attached to anyone, the city or the customer.
That would be the same thing we would do on other city landscape areas.
Because it's an improvement to the city.
Mr.
The only question that I have, well, two questions. What does this have to do with EDC? For one thing, shouldn't it be addressed to the city of Cleveland? But that can be answered later. But the question another question I have is, I'm all for it. I'm all for him doing what he wants to do. It's great to have the businesses want to move forward and make this a positive thing. And he's mentioned about digging up the asphalt. My opinion is he can do whatever he wants to if it's going to improve the facade of the building, and as long as it doesn't interfere with city code or anything of that nature, let him do it.
I did look, the name of his company is, I'm probably terrible on pronouncing it, it's ENCINO, Ensano. And I looked him up, and he had one rating. It was not very good. It was simply the person that called him. And he told us he does 99% of his work for TxDOT. So he's not out securing residential. So I guess the person that called him wanted him to do landscaping. When he told her he didn't do it, he didn't get a very good rating on it. But I think his effort, and he wants to do things to help the city. And I'm hoping that he'll move further away from his property and help the city in other areas also.
Yeah, I do want to make one comment. We did ask a question, you said something about the city. It's kind of like our webpage. You know, it's EDC, but yet city. We are the city, and that's all of us united together for trying to do things. And I think this shows you, and shows everybody and our residents and our businesses downtown that we are pulling together, working together, trying to get by. Hopefully it just triggers and starts going more and more. That's what we need downtown, to show the positivity of that.
Oh, I agree with what you're saying. It just, I don't want to have a city overrun the EDC, which I guess they are over us, or the EDC trying to overpower the city of Cleveland. I don't want to see it doing like this, you know? That's all I got to say. I mean, just don't want to be stepping on each other's toes or anybody else's jurisdiction. But there again, I'm all for what he's wanting to do.
In our bylaws of EDC, it covers us very much in landscaping and beautifying of the city.
Sure.
So we fall under that category very easily. If the city is providing the water, EDC, is there really any action on this that we need to do?
There is no action, and we would hope that maybe I see this as a grassroots effort because Mr. Johnson has worked with his neighbors. So he's got more than one business that's involved with beautifying in front of their businesses. So he's got three or four neighbors that are going to participate in this. And so we're hoping, we looked at the possibility of doing professional landscaping. And the idea now would be to be more, pardon the pun, but more grassroots as far as getting folks involved in doing some landscaping and we hope that this will be very successful for the area along Crockett and College. And hopefully we can expand that to South Travis and get the businesses involved. We would like to put a meter in at that location, city meter in at that location as well. And we need to look to see if we can make that connection. We think that we can. But as far as the plantings and it may be the city, it may be businesses working together, but we'll forego any professional landscape.
Just a comment, Mr. President. I think it's a great idea for the city, well, for the businesses, I'm sorry, not the city, multiple businesses to get together and sort of collaborate to do this. I think that's good. Hopefully there'll be others to sort of piggyback along as well. So that will show right there the unity in your city. Then after that, as we go along, maybe we can do, and this is to the city or EDC, possibly a program where we can start a painting process. Those people that are doing the landscaping, then we can sort of get together and do maybe some incentives with paint and have each business that need the painting to sort of paint their buildings, and this would improve in an enormous way. So that's my thought.
My thoughts on it are, we have a business, individual, private business, and his neighbors are willing to go along and do this. When we get to other areas that are city property, then it may need the help of EDC to help purchase plants and irrigation. And I think at that point, that's where I like to see EDC come into play. Hopefully, we can get this particular landscaper and maybe somebody else that's in the business of irrigation to contribute efforts to help us design a plan and get some other areas landscaped. That's my hope. And I think this is, like I said, just grassroots and start. But it's kind of careful when you have it is business, it is the city's property, so they're putting their money forward to make it look better, and I applaud that. When we go to our first downtown improvement sidewalk plan, we're talking about an area across the street that is the city property only, not necessarily the sidewalk area. But anyway, that's the hope that we can make our city look better by doing that kind of landscaping. I remember the questions. Mr. President, we used to have a Keep Clean Beautiful committee, and I think it just kind of played away. It'd be nice maybe if that would be brought back and pick it up and get started. I mean, that would help in some of this, I believe, like the painting and what we're doing here. I mean, so that was brought up several months ago, and that originated through the chamber. And I was hoping that the chamber would come forward and reactivate that. If not, please participate.
They're not done.
I think everybody made that statement.
Yeah. They have got the program, my understanding, they have got the program back intact where it was sort of out of, not active anymore, but they got it back to where it needed to be. So now it's just finding somebody that wants to take that responsibility.
It's correct. My understanding is it's an inactive 501c3. It's the existing 501c3, and all the reporting was caught up a few years ago, so it's just a matter of reenacting that 501c3. So you really need somebody outside of the city organization to run that committee separately from the city, and it'd be great to have some community involvement using that organization.
And that might be something you can bring to those individuals, those business, Mr. Johnson or whoever. You might want to bring that to their attention to see if they might be interested in doing just that.
So it needs to be somebody outside the board.
Preferably it needs to be outside of the city, being that's a separate 501c3.
Yeah.
Or, you know, we have a committee that, of business owners, an ad hoc committee. It's just a matter of collaboration and working together. And it really doesn't matter what platform you use, if everybody can work together and clean up town and make our business downtown look beautiful, improve our downtown.
Then we'll start. Maybe next month we'll come back and we'll start talking about it, see what we do.
One of the things I would say with the Keep Cleveland Beautiful, it's part of Keep Texas Beautiful. And I've worked on a similar project in other cities and won award with their Parks and Recreation as part of that program. So you can get awards for types of projects that you work together. So, I mean, there is something positive there. You can make it into something that's award winning. And that was all community driven under the 501. Actually, that was a city project that didn't use a 501c3. It used a committee, a landscaping committee that was put together by the city council at that time.
Just to add to that, you want somebody that's going to get in there and get the work done. Committees are fine, but when you have all these committees and all they do is sit in there and talk and plan, you need to put those plans in action. That's just not good.
And that's a matter of the committee setting deadlines to get things accomplished.
Any other discussion on item 11? I'm sorry, number 10. If not, we're moving on to item number 11. Discuss amateur sports and athletic facilities permissible under type B projects. We've had the last 2 years, it's been rough on most any city. Excuse me. We've got a pretty nice municipal park. It's got a great start on the facilities. I see it as not being used enough. I don't know, maybe it never will be profitable, but I would like to see the EDC participate in bringing that park used to bring tourism and other things to this city to help. And it's going to have some influence on our tax base as far as bringing people to our cities, hotels, buy gas, restaurants, and things like that. And so that's why this item 11 has been brought up. I think we're losing some business because we're not going after it. And I'd like to see a committee set up with our President Ashley being headed up, and then create a committee of people that can bring events to our municipal park, like softball tournaments. I know we have CYBA out there 4 months, maybe 3 months out of the year, but I just think there's ways that we can bring some more income to our city. And so that's why it's on the item, and I'm opening it up for discussion.
Mr. President, I'd like to discuss that.
Okay, go ahead.
I didn't know what that was pertaining to, but yeah, I do have some thoughts on that. That's a facility out on 321.
Yes.
It's not being utilized whatsoever, and we put a lot of money into it. Do we own the property surrounding the ballpark?
Yes.
We do.
We own mostly the land behind it.
Yeah, we own a lot of acreage left to do other things.
Other than what's fenced in?
Right.
I don't know.
Back behind it for us.
At my observation, and I have grandkids that play ball, and they looked into playing ball there, but for whatever reason, it's too high, is what they said, and nothing's going on there.
What do you mean, the price,
I believe.
Just maybe too high?
They're having to go to Tarkington Prairie to play on their ball field out there. and in surrounding areas that has ball fields. And we're missing a boat, and I don't know why. I asked, and they said, we just don't go there. I'm being blunt. And I know we need to do something to develop that area. Maybe we should sell some, concentrate on that area there and sell to a motel or something other. We need to get some restaurants right there. Let's get something going and then work with that park. We need to get that park rolling, because other parks, my grandkids right now, on a state level, they could be here. Right? Otherwise, they're over there in Sulphur Springs, North Texas right now. Last week, they were in College Station. The week before that, they were in Splendora, 2 weeks in a row. Week before that, they were in New Caney. The week before that, they were in Porter, because the city of Cleveland does not have the facilities or do not want to utilize the facilities. I don't know what it is. I have to ask those questions to give better feedback on that. But, you know, we're missing the boat. Go ahead.
If we can look at the fees, I will do that. I will look at the fees and make sure that we're profitable. I know that we looked at the fees not too long ago to see what the cost of the lights are. Now, to run a sports park, you're never going to break even. You don't even want it. It's basically a public service. There are indirect revenue that comes in from sports tourism. And honestly, I think that the park may be a little too small. The city and the EDC have very limited resources. I will say that if we're committed to focusing on amenities for the city, there are other economic development corporations, Tyler being one of the larger ones, that they spend most of their money on parks. And their idea is, if you spend money on parks, that's a place where people want to live, and that's where businesses will come. So you have a lot of cities that will do that. They will use, or the EDCs, they'll spend their resources on the park. Now this EDC did that, and we started the first phase of that project. One of the problems that we've had with the park is it's flooded multiple times. Going forward, I think that we need to raise the fields on the back half if we decide to develop the rest of that. But we have made some progress coming out of COVID. We have CYBA and we have Texas Vengeance, which is a girls, I think it's 18 and under softball league, and they're ready to sign another year contract. We've done a 6-month contract, and I believe Ashley may be online. She was telling me today that we have another, she said a third group that's interested in having a contract with the city. So you'll see a lot of cities that will contract with the leagues, and we've done that. Basically, it's very limited or no cost. CYBA is, I believe, donations, basically. That they said that they were committed to donating back to the park and improving the park. So we've made $2,700 coming out of COVID. I know that doesn't sound like a whole lot, especially with all the expenses. And the expenses are pretty high. You think about maintaining the fields and the operation. But again, the benefit of having those amenities are that it improves the community, it improves the amenities. I would like to mention that the city of Deer Park, they created an economic development corporation back in 2015, and they committed to $1.5 million on the replacement of restroom facilities in their major park, a new pavilion structure, stage, restrooms, $6 million to a new community center and gym. That's their economic development corporation. Another $2 million for the expansion of a senior center, $3 million on the reservation on renovations to their existing baseball parks, $3 million on renovation to the girls softball complex, $4 million to their brand new soccer fields, and then another $500,000 for development of hike and bike. Now, Deer Park's a lot bigger. You're talking about 28,000. But I will say this, their sales tax is pretty limited. You think about all the industry and the chemical plants, they don't pay sales tax. The only benefit from sales tax that they're really getting is they do have a Walmart like us, and they also have an HEB. That's pretty much all of their sales tax that they receive. So they're not focused on creating jobs necessarily. They're creating the amenities for folks to want to live in their community. And maybe that's the focus that this board wants to look at. Do you want to focus on trying to give business incentives, or do you want to focus on improving the amenities, or do you want to split that out? The deal is you only have a limited number of resources, and sometimes you got to figure out what is the successful formula to do that project. We will look at the fees. We do have the leagues that are playing there now, having Vengeance playing along with CYBA. The field's getting used year round instead of just during the CYBA season. We also have the football league. The park has been plagued with a lot of problems. The flooding, Imelda, Harvey, COVID. We've only had 1 or 2 seasons where we can have a real benchmark to see what kind of activity that we're going to see. It will never break even, never. But it is an amenity for the city, and so it's a question of: do we want to improve? Do we want to expand on that? Do we want to look at the sports park and improve it, or do we want to expand that to parks and other amenities? So I think it's worth a look.
If you're driving your car to town and you have a flat, do you fix a flat or do you walk the rest of your life? I think we've got an investment out there, and if EDC did that with a grant several years ago, a lot of people here said it'll never work. Right now, one of the reasons it's not working is the fact we're not going and getting that business, bringing it to our town. And so what's it take? I've got some ideas. I think other people have got some ideas. But when you mentioned the Vengeance, what's the name of the girls' team? 18 and under?
Texas Vengeance.
How many nights a week do they use it?
They have, so they piggyback on to they have a contract giving priority to CYBA. And they're basically guaranteed at least one field. I believe that's how it was written.
One field, one night, or all week? I mean, I'm trying to find out some more. How do they tie up that one field? Is it a weekend?
It was a contract that they would be given a field, but they have to work with CYBA because CYBA has a priority over it.
What I'm trying to suggest, now they may have to work with another entity too, or two. If they're using it to practice on it, or are they playing games? I don't know. That's what the questions I have.
I believe they're practicing as well as playing games on that.
And if, I know the last 2 years, the park has really not had a fair, since the city took it over BDC, it hasn't been a season in which you could say, well, this is a full year that we had turns. So it's not fair to look back and say, what? But if we made $1 last year, and next year we can make $2, then that's great. You doubled your revenue. Now they break even. It still would mean it's less dollars the city has to pay to keep it up. I've talked to CYBA several times. When they had it just 1 year at a time, that was a complaint they had. It's hard to figure what you can do with your concession stand every year if you don't know you're going to get it next year. So we let them go to a 5-year contract, and that part's good. But I think somebody from the city council needs to be on the CYBA board. Now, I don't know if that's possible. It's just me speaking for myself, because I have mentioned to them many times, if you put signs out on the outfield fences each year, and business will pay for that advertising. We've got 3 scoreboards out there, they're all outdated because the name of the bank has changed. So there's that, there's things at the park that, as we discovered, the electrical has to be corrected. But I see it as making that 4th field with lights, and that would be 4 fields. I just want us to look into the possibility of what we can do with what we've got there.
Absolutely, and I think one of the best avenues to do that is have a committee. I know we're throwing a lot of committees out here lately, but to bring that experience, those folks that are connected with the leagues, to give them a chance to have a voice, bring recommendations to council staff, to be plugged in to the sports venues themselves and the leagues themselves. I think it's important. It'd be great if they would allow somebody that's actively involved in the park to be on that board. But if that's not doable, I think that having a committee that's helping with the vision of the park, I think that's important.
Well, we all know that it takes cooperation. We did. And I don't want to take anything away from CYPA, but it's just, where would they go if they didn't have us? If they didn't have that municipal park, where would they go? So they need to be more cooperative with the city on how they manage it.
They've been a great partner, and I just think that it would be helpful to have a committee that could maybe have a master plan, a vision that could help either the board or the council decide where to go from here.
I think there's several different men's adult softball leagues, and they're separate from each other, but you find out who runs them, find out their schedules, and you're officiating. There's an organization for that through softball officiating. If we could contact them and find out and get them lined up for using our park this fall, the more nights we can use it. The main thing you got to do is make sure they pay for the lights. It's one of our biggest expenses, other than the maintaining of the fields. And I just think that we got the facility, we need to take advantage of it. I'd like to hear from the rest of the board.
First of all, I just wanted to know who is the overseer of the manager? Is that the Civic Center? Is that
that is correct?
Okay, and I feel like we should have had her available here so that we can ask those questions. She's the one that they're probably giving their complaints to or their concerns to, so she can give us a better insight on what is needed. That's my first thing. My second thing is, how long is this contract with CYBA?
I believe it's correct. It's a 5-year contract. That's pretty typical of cities. I believe Ashley is online tonight. And then we also have with the Vengeance. They had come to us earlier this year and they wanted to try it out. It's a new league and they just want to see how it would go. So they did a 6-month contract to kind of see how things would go. And then the plan is to bring that back to council. And my understanding from Ashley is they want a 1-year contract to see how it goes. And then it's possible that they need more fields. So it was kind of I guess you could say that was a pilot program, and it seems to be very successful.
Okay, and to add to that, receiving funds or revenues is fine for me, but my personal opinion is to improve the amenities. And the reason I say that is because you want to give the people a place to go for social activities. And we know we have the softball, or we don't have the softball, but I would like to see other sports contributed in that area, like skateboarding or walkathons or something. It needs to be activity in that park at all times. And I do realize that it has, in the past, it has flooded, but it's dry now. So utilize as long as you can. And then, but in the meantime, still focus on those things that we need to correct or add to that facility.
And we're doing that with the FEMA grant. It has been a long process, an expensive process. We're looking at nearly, well, when you take the engineering into consideration, it's over $500,000 to fix the park. And you're not really going to see any real improvement except for these platforms that get the electrical out of the floodway. So we have spent a lot of dollars towards the park. We got to figure out ways to make sure that our facilities are resilient if they're going to be in the floodway. There's a lot of cities that have provided parks in a flood-prone area. We need to also think it through and make sure that we have our assets protected from these kind of periodic events when it comes to flooding. One of the thoughts is that either we build a detention basin in the back where the wooded area is, and then we put soccer fields on a lower level, and they're designed to flood because you wouldn't have a lot of fencing. But if we build more baseball fields, I think it's going to have to be at a higher level.
That's one of the things that municipal parks go to ballparks because it is a flood area. And they're thinking, okay, it floods, it doesn't destroy it. It's a very unusual circumstance. We had 2 to 3 feet of water in that area. Maybe it's part of design. Yeah. After Harvey, I'm sure they're designing ballparks a little different. But in other words, that land cannot be used for building on, except, in certain floodplain areas is a park. In fact, there is laid out a path, a jogging or a walk path down through the Tarleton Bayou. I wouldn't suggest walking it without protection at the time because of their mosquitoes, yeah. And we do have other acreage that we can expand, but the whole thing is try to make, as we say, it won't ever be break even, but at least we can take some of the burden off the city if we can get people to use those facilities.
One of the ways to do that is a hiking trail, and instead of old parks having a walking loop in a park, you have linear trails that connect neighborhoods to the park. And the thought is that you have some green space within Grand Oaks that would be, you could easily connect the ballpark. We own the land in between the ballpark there in Grand Oaks and have a linear path of some sort that would connect all the way back to City Hall. We're trying to do that right now. So that's something that I would see. I think that would improve the use of the park and the amenities, and so everybody can enjoy it. And I think that there's other things that we need to look at as well. We're doing a splash pad right now, but I did look at what other economic development corporations were doing, and Sanger, Texas is another one that has a development corporation, and they have, they're doing park improvements, they're doing downtown improvements similar to ours, their streetscape improvements, and redoing ball fields, and they're actually doing a splash pad as well with the corporation money. So it's just a matter of, you're going to hear a lot of people that especially unemployed, they're going to say, I don't necessarily care about parks, I need a job. But the idea is that we're bringing the jobs to the city, because if you improve our amenities, people are going to want to locate here and jobs are going to want to locate here.
Well, I think we've opened up the discussion enough that I think we ought to move forward, but let's do some research. Okay. Contact Ashley and talk with her and find out what she needs to help her as far as contacting these other leagues, and find out what nights we can use it, what weekends we can use it, when we can't. CYBA is mainly between February and June. Then they start playing their playoff rounds and they go to other cities. So, I just think we should be able to make use of municipal park more than we're doing.
And I think one of the best ways of doing that is having a committee that's really plugged into these leagues. So city staff and we'll look for ways to plug that expertise in to allow us to go after these leagues and sporting events.
So I guess at this time, if I could ask that Mr. Reynolds and Ashley talk and find out what we can do to help her in getting some of these leagues and some of these tournaments in here. Because a lot of people think, well, you don't make money on the gate or you make money on the concession stand, but really it's hard to count the dollars that you bring into a city with your motel, hotels, your restaurants, your gas station. Ice is one of the hardest things to come by in a softball tournament. When the weather we have, you're scrambling for ice. So, there's another venue for it. So if that's all right with the EDC board, then.
I just have one thing I'd like to say to Bobby. Before we go about changing the rates and stuff like that, I'd like for us to find out why these teams won't stay there and play these tournaments. We may not have the facility for it, because these tournaments have many, many fields that they play when they go to these other cities.
But you have different.
Right, well, that's true too,
Yes.
but we need to investigate everything other than just the fees is what I'm saying.
Correct.
CYBA does an excellent job out there, and they're not an issue with us. I mean, they don't cause any problems as far as the new team or anything else.
No, they've worked together really well, but I think it's important that we have a meeting. We'll try to get a meeting with Mr. Stuckey and the president of Vengeance and see, pick their brain to figure out, is there something that we're missing in the formula?
Yes.
It takes somebody with that's heavily involved in those sporting events to understand what we need to do better.
And that was my final thing, making sure that Ashley is aware, and so that she can bring to us, whatever issues they've been bringing to her, so we can get questions answered as Mr. Patrick was asking. And I was gonna also suggest, but Tuffy left already, because of the fact he's been into sports for quite a long while, that committee or something, he can be, of some help with that. I mean, he's been into the sports area, and he might be able to sort of put a plug in there to help to see what is needed.
One question I have, and I don't mean to throw salt into the wound, but soccer is another thing. I run into a lot of people from Cleveland, grandparents and parents of kids that are playing soccer at the Splendora School playground, not playgrounds, football field out there. And they start at 8 o'clock in the morning, go on to 1 o'clock, and there's a lot of teams playing there. I have asked a question, why don't we have it in Cleveland? And they said there's no facilities there in Cleveland. And they're doing their best to offset their costs as much as possible. But Splendora, I don't know what they have with them. I think it's pick up your trash and don't destroy it too bad. You can play as long as you want to. Maybe the schools need to be looked at to see if we could play. But there's a lot of individuals from Cleveland, Texas going to Splendora. We're missing the boat. We go back to what we're supposed to be about. We're bringing people in. We talk about this ball field. This is about the kids. We need to do what we can for the kids, because the parents come into town. We need to do something for the kids because they want to go do something, not to go out of town or whatever, the water park or that you're talking about. That's a great idea. We need to see what we can do about that. The ballpark, I feel like, from what the talk is here, we're flooding all the time. Well, then let's just sell the thing, tear it down, demolish it. I'm not trying to be negative. Let's get rid of it if we can. If we're going to spend millions of dollars or whatever to get it to where we need it at. I think we're missing the boat on either selling it or build it up so we can bring the kids in, as far as maybe have a water park there. Or, we can do a lot of things. We can have entertainment. We're looking at that. I know the talk is we don't do anything in Cleveland as far as entertainment. And I'll go as far as saying that I'm involved with Conroe, on their Friends of Conroe. I hate to say that I'm on their board, but we do a lot there. We bring a lot of entertainment there. We do a lot of events. We bring a lot of festivals, a lot of entertainment to Conroe, and we do pretty good with that. And I like to see that happen here in Cleveland, Texas.
Patrick, I'd like to concur with that, and this board has fantastic asset on FM 1010, and that might be a perfect location for a soccer park.
Either that or tear it down, build a school, let them build, fill it in with dirt and get it above where they needed it, because we need schools. You know,
Yeah, and the school has approached us and they need dirt to build up their schools, and the other thought is to use the back acreage as detention. Of course, that's
Yes.
gonna require some engineering and time. But, you know, one of the thoughts is we clear the land off of FM 1010 and you build a soccer park there. And maybe it's just a practice field, and then you can decide, you know, you don't necessarily dedicate it as a park, you see if it works, and go from there.
You have to remember, our municipal park is built for floodplain. And yes, and that's why we did the parks, and you can't build up that area, as you say, sell it, tear it down, sell it, get hotels or something there.
do something.
We got lots of land that we can do for people that wanna come and build that, but that particular area is gonna be limited to what you can do on it.
Yeah.
And if you ever got a $2 million facility, we need to make that work before we give up on it.
Well, it's getting late.
Yep.
I'm missing my America's Got Talent or something.
That's tomorrow night.
Oh, I'm missing the Bachelorette. That's what I'm missing.
Any other questions on item number 11? Can I make a comment? Well, we move on.
Yeah.
You know, I know we're talking about the ballpark not making money or breaking even. If we get someone coming in and starting to bring these league to where they pack our motels, they eat at a restaurant, they buy gas, they shop at Walmart, HEB, we're making money.
That's right. There's an indirect benefit, but again, most parks of this nature is just, it's an amenity to the community, and you got a lot of out of town people that come here and maybe have never been to Cleveland, and then that's their first impression of Cleveland. So it's important to have those kind of nice facilities. I totally agree.
And on the comment on the walking trails and the hiking trail, whatever, when we built that park, that was one thing we discussed, is making a walking trail, a jogging trail around the park. We need to look at that. I know you've jogged in Memorial Park in Houston. I've done a lot of work down there on those trails. Those trails are on a high dollar trail. They're dirt trails. And all we need to do is maybe go in there and take a hybrid wash, go in there and make trails through there. But they don't have anything on them. They have a little wooden bridge when they cross the creek, but they're just dirt trails.
They're crushed granite. It was just a couple of guys that after a round of golf decided to run around the golf course, and now you have 4 million people that come visit annually to go run. So
our trails back here are dirt and moss. And I have people, you know, all over town, a lot of people coming, we have nowhere, mostly ladies, we have nowhere to go walk or jog or whatever. But that would bring more of a focus, so we need to, I think we're talking about some good stuff here. That's all. Any other questions, any other comments? Moving on to item number 12. Discuss entertainment and tourist facilities and participate in type B projects. It's kind of what we've been talking about.
Yes.
Who wants to take that topic?
I think it all ties in with number 11.
I think it does too.
Let's move on.
Item number 13. Anybody comments on number 12?
No, just that we've already discussed.
Michelle? Okay. Moving on to item 13. Discuss public parks and related open space municipal or type B projects. Again, I think we've covered that.
those 3 topics kind of were put together so we could have this discussion.
I don't believe we have anything for closed executive session unless I missed something.
I don't have anything, Robert, you have?
Do y'all want to go back and read a reading?
I
See what better than this? We don't even know what night it is.
think he's making that up.
I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. We are adjourned. Thank y'all.